Green Mom Guide presents Health Notes with Dr. Sydney Spiesel.
Let's talk about babyproofing. That babyproofing is an issue which is incredibly important because children can get into unbelievably terrible problems. Both some of them problems of actual safety and danger, and some of it problems of just plain horrible inconvenience when they wreck everything in sight. All the electrical outlets certainly ought to have little plastic plugs so that kids can't like stick screwdrivers and keys and things like that or into them. That's a fairly obvious thing. Everything in the kitchen, everything in the bathroom should be thought of as poisonous. And that stuff should be ideally moved way up to a high cabinet or put behind in a cabinet which is lockable in ways that children can't access it. Well, I have childproof locks in my office all over the place, and any kid seems to be able to get through them very easily. So you got to be very careful in your choice of childproof locking. Another thing which is, I think, a valuable and important way of protecting children, especially when spring and summer come, is to make sure that windows are either locked shut. Windows that kids can climb up to are either locked shut or pinned so they can't open more than about that much, something like that, because you can't ever count on the screens, for example, to hold a kid in. So you always worry, especially second floor windows or higher windows, always worry about the disaster of a kid opening up a window, getting a window really, really high open and falling through. My first recommendation is that my newest invention that you're clearly waiting for, the extra wide fly paper. But if that is not available, we have to think about other things. One thing is actually, at what age should children be, or what age do children get out of cribs? What age can you keep kids in cribs? And it really varies a lot. Children, by and large, with some exceptions, really don't like bars. They really don't like bars. And many, many kids, by about 18 months, like them so little they're ready to climb over the top and leap, and often do once or twice. Fortunately, their heads are often made of granite, so it's not so bad. But it's dangerous, and we do worry about that. And at the point where kids both can escape from a crib and are strongly interested in escaping from a crib, you really have to. At that point, it's inconvenient as it is. You have to get them out and put them in a youth bed, ideally one which is close enough to the floor so that if they fall out of bed, which kids will do all the time, it's not going to do any harm. Inevitably, you have to let, kids are going to grow and they're going to need to wander around. And it's really the most important thing is just to baby-proof everything. And that's particularly an issue, by the way, if you have a child who's a little bit older and who has all these little tiny things around, their Legos and stuff like that a younger child can pick up and put in their mouth and choke on. So you have to be very careful. It's a tricky business. Well, I don't know. I mean, there's plenty of evidence that kids can, for example, fall in the toilet and drown. Even that is known, but we don't know where is the right place to draw the line. The minimum place that I would draw the line is at night. If you have a kid who's wandering at night, you ought to leave the lid of the toilet down so they can't. It's not so obvious to get into it. For me, everything in the kitchen is pretty dangerous. So if there's some way of blocking the kitchen off, just shutting the door to the kitchen so the kid can't get in, that would seem to be the most valuable thing to do. I was sort of musing on these questions as we were coming back from the hospital this afternoon, driving back from the hospital and chatting, and remembering the difference. When I was young, there was so little attention, so little focus placed on safety. And now there's a huge amount of focus placed on safety. And so nobody would have ever thought about it, and yet you clearly don't want kids near a stove.